The Lion at the Threshold. A moral tale for a republic that forgot its name and purpose. By Othniel Max Daves, November 19, 2025. In the days when law became a costume and justice a prop for pageantry, the eagle of the Great Republic spread its wings over a city built on marble, but hollowed by ambition. From a distance, its silhouettes still commanded awe, broad-winged, imperial, and cloaked in the solemnity of history. Its proclamations still echoed through the world, confident and rehearsed, as though nothing beneath its perch had shifted. But those who lived closer to the ground could hear the cracking of the stone beneath its talons, the subtle fractures spreading through the very foundation that once bore the weight of a free people's hopes. The eagle had forgotten that its flight depended on the health of the nest from which it rose. It fed on tribute extracted from the provinces in the name of security, development, and global order. It believed itself the keeper of stability, yet the more it grasped, the heavier it became. The marble of its capital grew softer beneath it, as though the stone itself recoiled from the burden of hypocrisy. But the eagle did not notice. Its eyes were fixed outward, scanning foreign horizons, convinced that every distant hill concealed a rival. Meanwhile, in the interior chambers of its city, the courtiers of the eagle found pleasure in the intricate games of influence, shifting pieces across invisible boards, whispering promises in exchange for favors, and convincing themselves that mastery of manipulation was the same as mastery of statecraft. They rewarded one another with titles and speeches, believing that ceremony could substitute for substance. They spoke of the Republic as though it still breathed, even as they drained its lifeblood through self-serving decrees. Thus the eagle's wings beat harder, not to ascend, but to maintain the illusion of its height. The people of the land grew weary. The farmers who harvested the forests and fields watched markets collapse under corporate predation. The workers who built the engines of prosperity saw their industries erode under the slow violence of global extraction. The sons and daughters who once pledged themselves to the defense of their nation watched the institutions they served descend into politicized theater and bureaucratic indulgence. Yet when they called to the eagle, it answered only with abstractions and data points, its voice drifting ever farther from the ground. Then came the day when the air itself changed. It began as a stirring in the lowlands, a rumble not heard but felt. In the ancient texts of the sages, such tremors were described as the sound of truth drawing near. The sky dimmed not with clouds, but with the weight of consequence gathering itself for arrival. And from the eastern horizon came a figure the eagle had long forgotten, for it had dismissed the wisdom of the old stories as relics of a bygone age. From the heights descended the lion. He was not the lion of banners or folklore, nor the beast of conquest or coercion. He bore no sword and carried no crown. His presence was a judgment not of violence, but of revelation, the mirror of what a nation had become when measured against what it claimed to be. The lion approached the capital city slowly, each step sounding not on earth but in conscience. Those with unclouded sight trembled, for the lion's mane shimmered not with gold, but with the memory of covenants once honored. His eyes pierced the facades of power and saw only structures built on self-excusing lies. The eagle felt the presence before it saw the form. It felt the ground and the air trembling. Its feathers bristled, for the lion carried none of the fear the eagle had come to expect from challengers. And when the lion reached the foot of the marble hill on which the eagle perched, he did not bow, nor did he shout. He simply lifted his gaze. "Great eagle," the lion said, "you were fashioned to be a steward of justice, not an instrument of appetite." Oh, you were exalted to guard the weak, not to devour the inheritance of the people who trusted you. Why have you turned your gaze outward while your own walls crumble? Why have you exalted your own image above the covenant that gave you wings? The eagle, startled by the calm severity of the lion's tone, answered with a voice trained by centuries of diplomacy. I have kept order, it said. I have maintained dominion. I have borne the burden of global stability. But the lion shook his mane, and the illusion of grandeur dissolved. His eyes now revealing something resembling fire inside, with sparks instead of tears leaping from them. In a voice which caused the earth itself to resonate, he said, "The one who mistakes dominion for virtue," he replied, "has already fallen. You speak of stability while your foundations rot. You proclaim peace while importing division and desolation as you continue exporting disorder. You praise justice while burying accountability beneath labyrinths of law. You mistake the applause of allies and adversaries for legitimacy. But legitimacy cannot be seized. It is bestowed by righteousness alone." The eagle grew uneasy. Its wings, once symbols of strength, now felt heavy with accumulated deceit. It attempted to rise higher, to flee from judgment, by ascending above the voice that confronted it. But the air resisted. The heavens themselves would no longer carry the weight of hypocrisy. The lion spoke once more, and the tone carried the gravity of ancient truth. You have forgotten that a republic is not sustained by power but by character. You have built monuments to yourselves and called them institutions. You have exalted your cleverness and called it strategy. You have consumed the inheritance of your own people and called it necessity. Yet know this, every empire that devours its own becomes food for the consequences it once believed it could outmaneuver. The eagle trembled, for in the lion's words it heard the echo of its own chronicles. The treaties broken, the trust squandered, the industries hollowed, the people dismissed, the truth manipulated, the justice deferred. It saw that its greatest enemy had never been a foreign rival. Its enemy had been the corruption it had permitted within its own nest. Then the lion rose to full height, and the earth solidified beneath him. The fissures in the marble widened, revealing the foundation that the eagle had allowed to erode through decades of self-serving governance. With a voice neither angry nor triumphant, the lion declared the verdict written in the moral architecture of the world. What you built on falsehood will collapse under its own weight. What you stole will be reclaimed. What you corrupted will be revealed. This is not punishment. It is consequence. And consequence is the most faithful servant of both justice and mercy. The eagle lowered its wings. For the first time since its ascent, it understood that power without virtue is merely flight without direction, an arc that ends not in triumph but in gravity's patient embrace. The lion turned away from the marble city and faced the land beyond, the forests, the towns, the rivers, the people, whose labor and hope had sustained the republic long before the capital claimed ownership of its destiny. To them the lion offered no threat, only a call. Rebuild, restore, renew. The eagle has forgotten its purpose, but you have not forgotten yours. And so the eagle remained on its crumbling perch, not slain but stripped of illusion, forced at last to confront the truth that no amount of wings could lift. It had betrayed the covenant that gave it life, and now the consequences it tried to outrun had returned to claim their due. When a nation exalts its institutions above its integrity, the lion will come, not to destroy but to reveal, and the revelation itself will be the judgment. and the eagle learned what every empire learns in the end. A republic cannot be plundered into greatness. A government cannot lie itself into legitimacy. A capital cannot escape the consequences of its own corruption, and no amount of power can silence the lion who speaks truth at the threshold. The lion's final descent and the ashing of the eagle. In the years after the lion's first visitation, the eagle trembled for a season. The memory of that judgment haunted its marble halls like a cold wind pushing through cracks the builders refused to repair. For a brief moment, the eagle attempted introspection, whispering of reforms it never intended to enact, commissioning inquiries meant to impress rather than to uncover. Such gestures, ornate but hollow, served only to lull itself back into the comfort of illusion. Executives changed, committees multiplied, new councils were formed with old ambitions. They dressed corruption in the garments of renewal and called the costume progress. The bureaucratic lattice thickened, not to uphold justice but to obscure it. What had been exposed by the lion was now deliberately buried under ceremonial language and procedural fog. The eagle convinced itself that time alone had dissolved the lion's verdict. Yet time is no solvent for moral consequence. It merely allows what is hidden to grow. As the eagle returned to its rituals of self-congratulation, a deeper rot spread through the land. The fields that once fed the nation grew sparser, victims of policies crafted in paneled rooms by those who had never touched soil. The forests were thinned by extractive enterprises blessed in the capital's corridors. Their ancient trunks, felled in the name of profit, masked as national necessity. Streams grew turbid, communities weakened, trust evaporated. But the people noticed something the eagle did not. The forest had begun to grow restless. From within the wounded woods, a presence stirred. The lion who had once walked the thresholds of judgment had withdrawn there, dwelling among the broken pines and fallen cedars. Trees sacrificed to the insatiable appetites of the capital and the machines of Anunnaki, like transnational devouring beasts. He wandered through ravaged clearings and eroding slopes, hearing the groans of the land as though they were in a harmonized lament of groans with the people. The lion felt each wound as a record of betrayal, each stump as a testimony of a covenant violated. The lion's mane had grown darker with lightning like streaks of gray now, not with age alone, but with gravity of what is. In his silence, the forest found voice. In his breath, the broken earth inhaled hope. Yet his eyes, when they turned toward the horizon, were filled with the inevitability of a final reckoning. For the eagle had not merely returned to its corruption. It had expanded it. It had normalized it. It had engineered systems to guarantee its continuation. Thus the lion emerged from the wounded forest one last time. The final time. This time he did not come as a herald of warning. He came as the executor of consequence. As he approached the marble hill, the eagle sensed his presence. It lifted its wings to their fullest span, believing that sheer display might shield it from judgment. But the sky refused to respond. The air around it had grown thin, as though the heavens themselves had withdrawn their support. The lion stood at the foothill, his paws pressing into the soil that had borne the weight of every consequence the eagle had ignored. He spoke with a roar of thunder, but his voice carried the resonance of truth, sharpened precisely, like a two-edged sword by time. "Great eagle," the lion said, "you were given a chance to remember. You were offered the gift of correction without destruction. You were shown the fractures in your foundation so you might repair them. Yet you chose not repentance but recalcitrance, not justice but pretense, not humility but spectacle. You covered your corruption with ceremony and called it continuity. You exploited your people and called it policy. You devoured your own land and called it prosperity. The eagle opened its beak to protest, but no sound emerged. Its authority, once booming and theatrical, had grown weightless. You have left me no choice, the lion continued. The forest has borne silent witness. The land groans beneath your decrees. The people labor under burdens you refuse to see. And the moral architecture of the world, nor its creator in heaven, can continue to be mocked indefinitely. The covenant you have broken must now be restored through your unmaking. Then the lion inhaled deeply, his breath drawing in not merely air, but the testimony of every injustice, every deception, every act of extraction that had been justified in the name of power. The wind shifted, circling him as though preparing to deliver the verdict the ages had written. With a single exhale, the lion released a breath of fire, not born of rage, but of truth refined into the righteous indignation of decisive judgment. The flame struck the eagle's perch. The marble cracked, then shattered. The great bird's wings ignited, not as punishment, but as revelation, unmasking what had long been hidden beneath layers of rhetoric and ritual. The fire consumed the corruption that clung to its feathers, then the feathers themselves, then the body of it, until the eagle was nothing more than a collapsing silhouette of ash swallowed by its own accumulated falsehoods. When the fire ceased, there was no carcass, no remnant, no monument, only dust and ash. The wind gathered it gently, as if performing the final courtesy owed to a creature that had forgotten the weight of responsibility. Then the breeze carried the ash away, scattering it across the land so that every grain might serve as a warning to the generations that would follow. A republic devoured by its own hubris leaves behind no legacy, only lessons. As the wind settled, the lion spoke to the empty perch. Thus ends the reign of the eagle that abandoned truth and justice. From dust it arose, but by its own corruption it has returned to dust. Let future generations remember, the authority granted by a people is upheld only by the righteousness exercised on their behalf. When a nation forgets this, the winds of consequence will scatter its pretensions like ash. Then the lion turned back toward the forest, not to hide, but to heal. For the land needed restoration, not ruin. And from that restoration, a new symbol would one day rise, not on wings of domination, but on foundations of integrity, humility, and truth. A nation cannot escape its consequences, but it can rebuild from them if it remembers. It can then, and only then, rise from the ashes, like the sun rising over the horizon with healing in its wings, wisdom, truth, and justice its body. And so the tale closed with the ash of the eagle carried into the horizon, and the lion standing guard over the wounded forest, ensuring that the next covenant would be forged not in power but in wisdom. As for people, so too for the nation.
Oh, America, the brave and the free. Why won't you rise? Why won't you fight? Why won't you end the corruption and greed? Rise up and take back your rights. Oh, America, the bold and the proud. Can't you see you're falling? Get up from the ground. Oh, America, can't you hear the calling? Rise up from the ground. America, can you hear me calling? A nation